What happens when one of music's greatest legends sits down with daytime TV's most outspoken panel, and everything goes completely off the rails? That's exactly what unfolded when Cher appeared on The View. What was supposed to be a routine promotional stop for her new memoir turned into one of the most explosive showdowns the program had ever seen. From the moment Cher walked onto the set, the tension could be felt. She carried herself with her trademark confidence, the same presence she's had throughout her 5-decade career. The audience applauded as she settled into the guest chair, ready to discuss her book and her life. But almost immediately, the mood began to shift. At first, everything seemed polite enough. The hosts smiled, exchanged light banter, and set the stage for what should have been a friendly conversation. But then Joy Behar opened with the first question. On the surface, it seemed harmless, but her tone carried a sharp edge. Joy asked, "So Cher, you've been in this business for over 5 decades. You've seen a lot of changes in Hollywood. Tell us, how have you managed to stay relevant all these years?" The word relevant hung in the air like a challenge. Cher immediately recognized it wasn't just a question, it was a subtle jab. She leaned back slightly in her chair, her experience with hostile interviews showing through. In a calm but pointed voice, she answered, "Well, Joy, I think staying authentic has always been the key. I've never needed to create drama or controversy to stay in the spotlight. My work speaks for itself." The cameras caught the hosts exchanging uneasy glances. Whoopi Goldberg shifted uncomfortably. Sarah Haynes forced a stiff smile. Sonny Hostin leaned forward with interest. Alyssa Farah Griffin's jaw tightened. Meanwhile, guest host Ana Navarro saw an opening and jumped in to escalate. Ana said, "That's interesting, Cher, because some people might say your recent social media posts have been controversial. You've been very outspoken about certain political figures." The temperature in the studio seemed to drop. Cher straightened in her chair, her composure clearly tested. Those who knew her recognized the warning signs. Her voice was firm as she replied, "I've always used my platform to speak up for what I believe in. If that makes some people uncomfortable, that's their problem, not mine." Joy leaned forward again, her politeness fading. She pressed, "But don't you think celebrities should stick to entertaining and leave politics to the politicians?" The condescension was unmistakable. Cher felt the familiar fire rising. She'd heard this line many times before, usually from people who had never risked their own careers to speak out. Her eyes locked on Joy as she shot back, "That's rich coming from a show that's built on political commentary. I guess it's only acceptable when the viewpoints happen to match yours." The energy on set shifted instantly. What had started as a light promotional interview was quickly transforming into a confrontation, and everyone in the studio could feel it. The exchange was getting sharper, and the tension was building fast. Whoopi Goldberg tried to step in, her tone calm but slightly patronizing. "Now, Cher, we're just trying to have a conversation here." Cher immediately challenged her. "Are we?" "Because it feels more like an interrogation designed to make me look bad." By now, the coordinated attack was becoming obvious. Sarah Haynes decided to take it even further, throwing what she clearly thought would be the knockout punch. "Well, speaking of looking bad, there have been some rumors about your personal life lately. Care to address those?" The studio fell silent. Cher's eyes flashed with a mix of hurt and fury. She had come there to promote her book, not to be ambushed with gossip. "Excuse me?" she said, her voice calm but dangerous. "What exactly are you implying?" Sonny Hostin pressed the issue. "We're just saying that for someone who preaches authenticity, there seem to be questions about your private relationships and business dealings." The accusation hit like poison. For Cher, it was the last straw. Decades of media manipulation and personal scrutiny boiled to the surface. Her voice rose, her temper breaking through. "You want to talk about authenticity? Let's talk about a show that pretends to support women while tearing them down on national television." The hosts scrambled to maintain composure, but the cracks were showing. Ana Navarro's face turned red. Joy Behar's lips tightened. Whoopi's attempts to calm the situation sounded weak. "We're not tearing anyone down," Whoopi protested. "We're asking legitimate questions." Cher laughed bitterly. "Legitimate questions? You call spreading unsubstantiated rumors and questioning my integrity journalism? This is exactly the toxic behavior that's destroying real conversation in this country." The studio atmosphere had shifted from uncomfortable to openly hostile. Camera operators adjusted their angles to capture every second, while producers in the control room realized they were witnessing television history unfold. Joy Behar, perhaps feeling the need to regain control, made the most critical mistake of all. "Look, Cher, We understand you're passionate about your beliefs, but maybe it's time to accept that your moment has passed. The words hit Cher like a punch. After decades of being told she was too old, too outspoken, too much, she snapped. Her professionalism fell away, replaced by pure fire. My moment has passed? She repeated, her voice shaking with fury. I've been breaking barriers and fighting battles while you were still figuring out how to read a teleprompter, without sounding like robots. The hosts realized instantly that they had gone too far. But it was already too late. The silence in the studio was electric, broken only by the sound of cameras whirring as they zoomed in on Cher's face. Her hands trembled, her eyes burned. The panel of hosts sat frozen, suddenly realizing they had cornered a woman who had survived an industry that devoured people alive. Sarah Haynes, desperate to cool things down, tried again. Cher, I think we're all getting a little heated here. Maybe we should take a breath, but Cher cut her off instantly. Don't you dare tell me to take a breath. You want to sit here and question my relevance? My integrity? Let me tell you about relevance, sweetheart. I was selling out arenas before you were even born, and I'll still be doing it long after this sorry excuse for journalism is forgotten. Ana Navarro leaned forward, her tone sharp. There's no need to get personal, Cher. We're professionals here. Cher laughed harshly. Professionals? You call this professional? Ambushing a guest with cheap controversies and thinly veiled insults? You wouldn't know professionalism if it slapped your fake personalities. The crude remark sent shockwaves through the studio. The View had seen heated arguments before, but nothing like this. Whoopi tried once more, her voice stern. Okay, that's enough. We need to keep this civil. But Cher's eyes blazed. Civil? Where was the civility when you spread rumors about my personal life? Where was the civility when you questioned my business without a shred of proof? You want to play dirty, but you can't handle it when someone fights back. Joy, flushed with anger, doubled down. Maybe this is exactly why people are questioning your stability. This kind of outburst doesn't exactly scream professional icon. The words landed like a slap. Cher's mouth fell open, then hardened into something fierce. Slowly, she stood towering over the panel. My stability? She said in a dangerously low voice. Now you want to question my stability? I've survived blacklisting, death threats, industry sexism, and decades of people trying to silence me. And you think your little mean girls club is going to break me? Sunny Hostin, emboldened by her co-hosts, made the most catastrophic mistake yet. Well, given your history of dramatic relationships and public meltdowns, it's not exactly unreasonable. Cher's voice cracked through the studio like a whip. Stop right there. Don't you dare bring my relationships into this. Don't you dare pretend my personal life is fair game for your ratings grab. The mask was gone. The legendary performer who had held her composure for 5 decades was done playing nice. Her voice grew louder, shaking the walls. You want to know what's unreasonable? What's unreasonable is a group of women who claim to empower other women, but spend their time tearing them down for sport. What's unreasonable is calling this journalism when it's nothing but gossip dressed up as news. Ana tried once more to salvage the situation. Cher, we understand you're upset, but attacking us personally isn't going to... Cher exploded. Attacking me personally? You just spent the last 10 minutes attacking everything about me personally, and now you want to play the victim? The hypocrisy is staggering. The hosts began to panic. They had unleashed something far bigger than they expected, and their careers suddenly felt at risk. Joy made one last attempt. Look, we're sorry if you feel we were unfair. Cher cut her off. If I feel you were unfair? There's no if about it. You ambushed me with lies and innuendo, questioned my character without evidence, and now you're gaslighting me by pretending it's all in my head. The situation was spiraling out of control. Whoopi tried to pull rank. Cher, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice. Cher laughed bitterly. You're going to ask me? You're going to ask me to lower my voice after you all raised yours to attack me? After you ganged up on me like vultures? The audacity is breathtaking. Sarah Haynes, close to tears, tried to plead. We never meant for this to get so heated. We were just trying to have a conversation. Cher's voice thundered back. A conversation? This wasn't a conversation. This was a coordinated attack designed to humiliate me on national television. And the saddest part? You probably thought I'd just sit here and take it. The confrontation was now a full-on explosion. Cher stood, her presence filling the studio, while the panel shrank back under her fire. The studio was silent except for the sound of Cher's voice cutting through the air. The audience, unsure whether to clap or stay quiet, sat frozen. The producers backstage were panicking, whispering frantically into headsets, trying to figure out if they should cut to commercial. But it was already too late. Cher leaned over the table, staring down each host in turn. Her voice dropped, but the words were sharp as a blade. You know what the real tragedy is? Millions of women watch this show hoping to feel inspired, hoping to see strong women lifting each other up. And what do they get instead? Petty jealousy, cheap shots, and a panel more concerned with ratings than respect. Joy tried to laugh it off, her voice nervous. Oh, come on, Cher, you're taking this way too seriously. Cher's head snapped toward her. Too seriously? You question my relevance, my stability, my personal life, and you think I'm supposed to smile and nod like a trained puppet? Let me remind you, I don't need this show. But you sure as hell needed me today to get these ratings. The audience gasped. Even the cameras seemed to tremble as they zoomed in. Sonny Hostin tried to regain control. Cher, with all due respect, this is our platform. We run this table. You don't get to come in here and dictate the conversation. Cher laughed coldly. Your platform? Let me tell you something about platforms. A platform is built on credibility, honesty, and respect. You've turned yours into a gossip column dressed up as television, and you have the nerve to lecture me about integrity? By now, Whoopi Goldberg had had enough. Her tone sharpened, her authority on full display. Cher, this is our house. If you don't like it, maybe you should leave. That was it. The final spark. Cher stood tall, her figure commanding the room. Her voice rose above the chaos, steady and unbreakable. You don't have to tell me twice. She gathered her things with deliberate slowness, the silence in the studio deafening. The audience erupted, half in shock, half in applause. As she pushed back her chair, she delivered one last blow. Enjoy your little echo chamber. I came here to talk about my life's work, but all you wanted was a circus. Congratulations, you got your spectacle. But remember this. Long after this show is canceled and forgotten, I'll still be here. Because legends don't fade no matter how hard you try to erase them. With that, Cher turned and walked off the set. The cameras followed her as she strode confidently backstage, leaving the stunned hosts scrambling to recover. The audience, sensing they had just witnessed television history, burst into thunderous applause. Some stood to their feet, chanting her name. The panel sat in stunned silence, their carefully constructed authority shattered in front of millions of viewers. Whoopi's face was pale. Joy stared down at her notes. Sarah blinked rapidly, fighting tears. Sonny looked shaken. Anna whispered something under her breath. Alyssa avoided the cameras entirely. The control room cut to commercial, but it was too late. The moment had already gone viral. Clips of Cher's fiery walkout spread across social media within minutes, racking up millions of views. Headlines exploded. Cher destroys the view. Icon walks out after explosive clash. Legend puts talk show hosts in their place. For Cher, it wasn't just a walkout. It was a declaration that she would never be silenced, never be diminished, and never let anyone rewrite her legacy. And for The View, it was a reckoning. They had underestimated the power of a woman who had spent her entire life fighting to be heard. The hosts tried to recover in the following segment, but the energy was gone. The audience knew the truth. The world knew the truth. Cher had walked in as a guest. She had walked out as the victor.